they're on a quest. Geek Force, they circled the idiot test. Geek Force, first and worst, second the best. Traveling to the past without a safety net.
This is the very beginnings of another Action Man restoration. I had a scorpion tank when I was a kid. One of the first real big playset toys, I suppose, that I had. And it's Action Man. I was only 3, 4 when I had this, and you kind of don't look after him very well because you're playing action adventure kind of things that are soldier driven and war driven. And over the years it got knocked around a little bit. I've started to take it to pieces to restore it. So the first thing I did was remove the top hatch. I've unscrewed the plate that holds that in place. The top hatch is actually broken off anyway. I've got to kind of make a new part for that. And then I very carefully put my hand under, and by taking the top hatch on the turret and things and put my hand under there, I've managed to kind of free the clips. I've taken one clip off totally because that needs reshaping, I think, and the lid needs reshaping there. You can see it generally needs cleaning. I've taken a few of the wheels off already. I have to kind of get these star locks off to remove it. I'm doing this in the kitchen because I don't want to mess up any of my living room or anything, so I figured this was probably the best place to do it. Probably not an ideal place to do it on the gas hob, but you know, I'm not planning on cooking it either. So the first thing I'm doing is just washing some of the parts that washing and cleaning some of the parts that I've done, that I've taken off already. And so it's going to be basically cleaning up the tank and everything first, taking the wheels off, cleaning everything back into place, and then putting everything back as I found it. And it's been a case of getting some new parts and repro parts to actually get this up to looking like it was when I was 3 years old. So that's the next job, is cleaning these bits. So you can already see I've started to put some of the pieces, some of the star locks I've already put into WD-40, and the screws from the plate that I've removed I'm putting in WD-40 as well, just to clean up a little bit. So hopefully that'll remove kind of any oxidization from it before I put them back on. So that's part of this as well, just is cleaning up kind of the metallic part. And just normal, you know, washing up liquid, and as you can see I'm just cleaning some of these pieces and making sure that they are spick and span before I start to put them back onto the main body of the tank. This is where the exhaust is attached to the outside of the Scorpion tank. It's probably pretty difficult to see, but inside there's just some tiny little, I don't want to call them screws, they're like a clip, but they've got a screw on as well that fits either side. There's just a piece of the old exhaust in there, you can see that on the front up. So what I'm going to do is to use a screwdriver to push from the inside that clip and hopefully remove that little bit of plastic that's still inside there by pushing onto it. So it should hopefully remove that, and then when the replacement exhaust comes, I can it'll be ready to put back in. So it turns out it was not as easy to get these out as I thought. I've had to actually drill down into the centre. It leaves a piece in there of there must be like a screw piece, so that you can see goes back in there, and it actually pinned the exhaust in. So what I've had to do instead, I've used my hand drill. I've had to very carefully drill down into the green part. I'm going to do the same on this one, and hopefully it will do the same thing. It will just be able to, it will drill the green piece away that's holding that white clip in, and then I can replace it with the new ones. So yeah, I've I've managed to get those both out. You can see it's the remnants of the exhaust that was in there that was holding it in. So those pins, obviously when I get the new exhaust, maybe they come as part of the kit for the restoration. I'm not sure, so I will hang on to these in case I need them. But you can see that that's removed, and that's ready for the new exhaust when I get it. So the plate that the lower hatch fits to, you can see is slightly out of shape because the top of the tank is. So what I'm going to do is just steam this a little bit. I've also done a quick repair on the top hatch. So the problem that I got was that a lot of these hatches, the clip that holds them in place breaks, and this was no different. It was just coming off instead of staying on. So what I've done, I've just drilled a little hole into the peg that was left. I've used this aerial part from a piece of Lego, and I've basically just drilled using tiny drill on a Dremel, and I've drilled into the post, into the peg that was there on the hatch, and into the piece of Lego, and then I've basically used a paper clip, cut part of a paper clip, and bonded the two with that. So, but what I've done, I wanted it to be like that, so it can actually lift and rotate. So when it's on the cover, instead of it getting too tight, I can actually lift it and it will still swivel and it still locks. So the idea is that it won't come out now. That's the downside of that. But then I don't think it ever did, which is why the clip's broken in the first place. The only other thing I've had to do, this was bent out of shape, so I've had to use steam. I've basically boiled water and steamed this and lifted it back, and I've done the same with this plate because that was bent out of shape as well. So when that's attached back on it now, hopefully it will fit a little more flush than it was before. There's certain parts missing on the turret, on the guns, which I've actually got. Luckily the parts were still there, so I'm just going to try to glue them on. I just thought it would be better to bond it with a drill hole again, just with a so that should be enough. And then, this is a tricky bit. These are the actual lugs. So, can I do it without cutting myself? I'll drill my own finger, that'd be helpful. That should do it. And the last one, the other one is totally missing, so to get a third I'm going to have to make something. I don't know how to do that yet. I've got an idea, vaguely, I think. Right, so that's the first part. Now I've just got to find where I've put the paper clip that I was going to use to do this, and then we can bond the two pieces back together. So basically all I'm going to do is drop a tiny, I've just found that this is what bonds things better. If you try and bond the plastic on its own, it generally won't work, or the bond's not great, and it will just snap again. So I found that if I put metal into it as a pin and glue that in, and then do the same on the other side. It only needs a tiny little piece to do it. Whoops. It should hopefully. It depends which is which as well. Is it that one or is it that one? Don't know. Don't know. Well, that's that one. Just said that was that one. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's. Oh, no, that's it. There we go. So that will, believe it or not, it will stick, but it's getting it in the right position to do it. Just drop a little, tiny drop of glue in there. That should work. I just know it works. Just put that again. Yeah. Oh, it's not an exact science, is it? Right. That's. I mean, I don't think it particularly matters which way you do it, but I always tend to do the small part. Glue. Put the glue in the part on that first, just because it's the fiddly bit, and I think it's harder to cut when that's in. If you put it there, it's going to be harder to cut because it's next to the are they flares? I think they're flares, aren't they? Not flares, what do they call them? Is it like chaff or something? Or have I made that up? They might not even be a weapon for all I know. It might be an exhaust port, I don't know. I'm not a tank expert. Maybe I should become one, considering fixing a scorpion tank. Right, so this is where it's difficult to... Because the problem is as well, that obviously it's been bent as it's been broken, so this is where it's tricky to get it back into the position it should be. It's just a case of pushing it down and making sure that bond's tight then, and that has got it. So that, to be fair, that is the best I can probably do it, because the problem is as well, it's not only been broken, it's been bent, so you've kind of got to go with what it allows. But I think that's pretty good. I mean, I'm not too unhappy with that. Right, now it's replacing that gun. It's going to be a problem. So, how big is the gun? Got some final parts on the turret to restore this morning. Yesterday I replaced the missing cannon, put the smoke exchange things on, and I put a new piece on for the cannon. That was just basically all I've used is a Lego lance, and I just drilled into it and then glued that piece in. So I'm going to try mixing a few different greens up this morning. I could give you the number of these greens, but to be fair, I don't even know what I'm mixing up at the moment. It's just a case of trial and error and see what I get. These are Revel, do you pronounce it, or Revel? I never know. It's but they're the ones that I'm using this morning, and one of my Citadel black ones to kind of get a match on that. So we'll see how close we can get it. I don't actually mind it brown, to be honest, but I want it to look as close to that green as I can, so I'll get mixing some of those up. So it turns out that Revel 361, or Revel 361, the olive green, is actually a pretty good match. I had to put a few coats on, obviously, to kind of get it to stay and to thicken it up, the colour, because otherwise it looks quite streaky at first. But you can see, I think that's pretty good as a match goes. I don't think you can tell that that's really not the original Canon on there now, so I'm quite pleased with that. So the next step is to make the last one of the smoke exchangers, I think. So I'm going to have a go at making one of those. Not sure how yet. I think I might use some Lego and green stuff to make that. So just little extra parts that I've done while I'm painting. Now I've found that the 361 olive green matches. I've painted the part that I repaired on the hatch, on that bottom hatch, because it was obviously black Lego. So I've just painted that olive green. I mean, you don't see it anyway, so that's just obsessive on my part. There we go. And then the other thing I've painted are the tops of the screws that hold this in place, just because I don't know if they were black or what, whether maybe they were shiny even when they first were put on there. But I tried to clean those up as much as I could, got rid of kind of the oxidisation off it, and then I thought, well, I may as well make them the same colour as the canopy now. So there we go. So that should, when I've put those back on, they should look pretty good as well on there, just matching. So this is the other smoke exchanger. Now all I've done, I've used a piece of tubing and I've mixed some green stuff. That tubing is the same diameter as the parts that are on there already. And what I'll do is, when the green stuff's a bit dry, well, when it is dry, I shall just sand it a little bit just to make the edges clean and give them more of an edge, actually, like they are on the other exchangers. And then again, and I've filled in that tube there. The reason I filled that in, I want to just sand that when it's complete, when it's dry, and I can either glue that or I can drill it in like I did on the others to make it hold in place. I probably will drill it in, to be honest. But again, that will be painted in the 361 olive green and it should match. Today I've received the final parts that I need to restore this magnificent beast. So this is from Vintage Action Man, or Varman, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I've bought one or two pieces now to restore the childhood toys that my childhood Action Man toys that I've been fixing up. I've bought quite a few from Mike at Vintage Action Man, and they are just absolutely brilliant. So I've got restoration stickers and the post for the flags and the important exhaust that's going to make this look a lot different, and in this packet the headlights that I needed to replace. So this is the last little phase of it, really. I can't believe it's actually come together more rapidly than I suspected, so, or expected even. And yeah, I'm really pleased with everything that I've put together so far on it. So these are just the last little finishing touches. I was looking at the exhaust and I'm not sure how to make these stick in. I've got the clips, the original clips, so I think what I'm going to try and do is push these onto those points there, actually onto the little posts that are left, and see if I can get those to work by just sort of holding it that way. I think that should be enough of the post there to actually hold it onto the side of the tank still. So we'll see. And then it's just a case of really putting the headlight in and getting the stickers on, and yeah, it should be back to fully functioning. So I'm replacing the headlight, and that's the one that's missing. The ones that I've got from Vintage Action Man are very, very good. The peg that holds them in, obviously you've got to get into that space there, and they are incredibly tight actually, to the point where I've sort of just done a little bit of a test to see if I can press it in. What I don't want to do is break it, so I think what I'm going to do is boil some water, just steam that front a little bit and make it a little bit more pliable, so it should fit in. And I think I might even grease that peg, just so I know it fits into it, and it should get into there, because what I don't want to do is break these. I mean, they look exactly like the originals. They just look fantastic, so can't wait to see this finally with the headlight back on. So there we go, that's the new headlight in place, and you can see it's pretty good. I'm dead impressed with that. I'd got an idea to make one myself, but that I think proves that it's worth getting reproduction parts, because it fits in really well with it. Turns out that the original metal cap on the inside was still there. These were used to sort of keep the headlamps in place, so that was still in there. I've had to remove that first to get that in. So on the Vintage Action Man ones, those pegs are just built onto it, so they'll just pop right in. So I think that's a pretty good match. I'm really pleased with that, and I think, you know, it's made it look back to how it should be at the front at least. So now it's just a case of moving on to the rest of the vehicle. Now, fortunately for the exhaust, I've actually got the original pegs, the original clips that go onto the back of these. Now, I've forced these on a little bit. Mine, unfortunately, were a little bit split when I took them off, so I've kind of pushed them onto those posts. I think I've done that enough. I'm hoping that that's enough so it won't show any white, and that it's a good fit onto the exhaust, onto the side of the Scorpion tank, because it's just a case of really pushing it back in and making sure that that's in place. So, and you can see kind of the shape there fits around the turret section. So here goes, really. We'll just press it on and see if it works. I'm really pleased with this. I mean, it just adds a different dimension again to the tank. You know, having that headlight back in, having that exhaust back on, it just gives itself back to the shape of that tank. So I did manage to use the original pegs inside there to hold it in place. I'm pretty pleased with that. You can't see that one, I don't think. I'm pretty pleased with that. I think that's a brilliant repair. I'd got ideas to kind of create one of these myself using sort of pen barrels and bits of styrene tubing and things, but that's far better than I could have produced, because it is the exact one. So great, looks really fantastic. So now it's just a case of putting the lid back on and putting the flags in. Worth remembering that when you put the lid on, when you put the turret back in, there are a few clips on that inside that you'll need to ease back onto that rim. So all I've done to get them on, I managed to get one in, open this up, my hand just about fits into the hatch hole, and I've just gone around and pushed move this round, put my fingers in and push the clips back onto the rim, so you can see they're all back in place. And it's not, that's nice and firm on it. It's not going anywhere. You know, I'm quite pleased with that as the way it goes. So it's really starting to take shape again now. It really starts to become the tank that I remember from when I was a kid. Well, that is looking really, really good, in my humble opinion. I think that looks, it just looks like when I first had the tank, which is incredible to think, you know, it was, what, 46 years ago since I've had it in this kind of condition. So I'm really, really pleased that I've got it back to this state. Regardless of all the restoration parts I've done on it, the scariest bit for me is putting those new stickers on, because I know as a kid, you know, you tried to put them on accurately, didn't you? But as a 4-year-old putting them on, I was not that accurate, I guess. I think my dad put them on, in fact, in the end. So I'm going to have a look at where these stickers fit, and I'm going to try and have a go at putting them on. Because I do want this to be restored, I've got to say I'm going to take these old stickers, not the badges, but I'm taking the old stickers off just because the colours don't quite match up to the new ones. So I will save these though. What I'm not going to do is kind of throw them away, and these you can see they're barely holding on, to be quite honest. So I will keep these stickers as a bit of a souvenir, but I'm going to take them off and put the new ones on in their place. This is still the scariest part of the restoration. I've been online to look at which way the stickers go. Action Man HQ, very good for this, and it's got the original instructions to the Scorpion tank, so it does clearly say red above amber on those instructions. So here we go, we're sort of making a start. These stickers are absolutely brilliant from Vintage Action Man, so it's, you know, I don't know how easy it is to get hold of original stickers. I doubt very easy at all, but for me this is a case of trying to make it look like it did when I was a kid. So I'm quite happy to put repro parts on, especially when they're as good as this, you know. And I think the Action Man community is very different to some of the other toy communities in that they seem to appreciate that, you know, repro does, when it's done well like this, it does work. And this is, you know, this is not going to be something that I'm considering selling or shifting on. This is something that is mine, and I hope to pass it on to members of my family when I'm long gone. I'm hoping that this is carried on enjoying being played with. You know, that's what toys are about, aren't they? It's about playing with those, and this has been loved, and hopefully it will be loved again with these new restorations to it. One of the hardest parts of restoring this with the stickers is getting these accurately on. It always used to amaze me on the commercials just how different the flags looked than what were on my own tank. So I think, you know, my dad would have put these on when I was a kid. There's no way on this planet a 3 or 4 year old would have got those accurately on there, I don't think, regardless of how tenacious I was about it. So what I've done to get it that accurate, I lined I've took this off and then aligned the triangular parts up first, and then made the loop in the middle, and then I've put the post in between the loop. So if that makes sense, I'm doing this one-handed, so I can't really show you how to do this and hold the camera at the same time, but it's not as difficult that way at all. I found that was a lot easier to do. So yeah, if you imagine just turning that over, and I basically tried to fold it in half a little bit and match the triangular ends up together first, so you've got just the points touching over on either side, and then that way, once they're lined up, it's easy to just slide the flag post through the loop at the top and then accurately press them together on either side. What I'm going to do now is tie those cable ties really tightly, and hopefully it should stop it from moving. It should actually make it tighter on those parts. So here we go. The cable ties are as tight as I can make them go. I'm going to cut those ends off, but watch this. Now that has definitely got it to a point where it will stay in place without the elastic band method. So there we go. I think that is pretty good, and it does mean that they're longer lasting. I mean, that's as tight as I can get it. We don't want it too tight, but I think that's equally as good as the elastic band method, and it means that, you know, you're just basically putting 2 cable ties, one round either side of it, to make it do the same thing. So I'm going to cut the ends of the ties off now to see if it's still as tight when I've done that. So this is it, finally completed and restored the Action Man Scorpion tank. I think for a toy that, I mean, they were made in 1972. I'm not certain that this is how old this one is. You know, I had it in 76, so whether it was, you know, around on the shelf until then, I don't know. But the fact that we've actually managed to restore it to how it looked when it first came out, I think, you know, is quite incredible. And the things work on it. I mean, I want to say a massive thank you to people who've helped me along the way, because without the replica parts, the repro parts from Mike at Vintage Action Man, then this wouldn't have looked anywhere near as good, I don't think. You know, I would have found it difficult to make that exhaust exactly as it was. And I mean, these I probably could have replicated to a degree, but they just make it. They're fantastic. And also I managed to get a set of tracks from Sam Farnworth as well, and they work really well on it. So I've been a little bit lucky along the way, I think, to kind of get the parts that I was missing so readily, in effect. And it's really, some of the things, you know, like we said, the elastic band method works really well, but I'm quite liking using that. If you look at it, does work using the cable ties that are used on the inside, but they just have to be really tight and pressed inside. I think with anything, it will loosen itself and work itself out, and every now and again I'm going to probably have to press them back in. Things that, you know, only I'll know when I look at it, like adding the extra smoke exchange that I made and making the machine gun. But I think overall it looks really nice. It does not look as though that is a toy that is 51 years old. It looks brand new. And there we go. What's really lovely is these are the figures and things that I've restored recently. I managed to get the parts again. That's my original Action Man that I got with the tank in 76. So to kind of have him finally having hands and his costume back to how it used to be is fantastic. That was one of the first Eagle Eye ones I had as well. So again, you know, to sort of see them both in the tank together is just really fantastic after all these years. And indeed, send out the patrol.
Geek Force, they're on a quest. Geek Force, they circuit the idiot test. Geek Force, first the worst, second the best. Traveling to the past without a safety net. Geek Force, traveling to the